Most people think stability is about income. If they just made a little more, saved a little more, hit one more milestone, then they'd finally relax. But here's the strange part. There are people making good money who still feel behind. There are people with savings who still feel anxious. There are people who technically made it who still wake up with tension in their chest. So, what's going on? Because if stability was just math, this wouldn't happen. The truth is uncomfortable. Stability isn't a number, it's a feeling, and most people are trying to fix a feeling with a spreadsheet. You can increase your income without increasing your sense of safety. You can grow your savings without lowering your stress because money only creates stability if your nervous system believes it. And that belief doesn't come from theory, it comes from experience. If your life has felt fragile for years, if one mistake used to create chaos, if you grew up watching money cause conflict or fear, your brain learned something. It learned that safety is temporary. So even when things improve, your body doesn't trust it. It waits for the next problem, the next bill, the next setback. That's why some people hit goals and feel nothing, no relief, no calm, just the next target, because they weren't chasing money. They were chasing the feeling that money was supposed to give them. And when it doesn't arrive, they assume they just need more growth, more progress, more optimization. But stability isn't built by speed, it's built by repetition, by surviving volatility, by handling small problems calmly, by watching things not collapse over and over until your brain updates the story, until it stops expecting disaster. That's when stability actually begins, not when the number changes, when your internal state does. There's a huge difference between having money and feeling safe with money, and most people don't realize they're not the same thing. You can build a savings account and still check it obsessively. You can get a raise and still feel like it's not enough. You can eliminate debt and still act like you're one step away from disaster because financial safety is not logical, it's emotional memory. If you've ever been in a situation where money ran out, where something unexpected hit and everything shifted, your brain stored that moment and it doesn't forget easily. So even when your circumstances improve, your nervous system is still scanning for danger, still bracing, still preparing. That's why some people live cautiously even when they don't need to. They overthink small purchases, they hesitate to invest, they avoid opportunities that require temporary discomfort, not because they're bad with money, because their system hasn't updated yet. Your brain doesn't care about your spreadsheet, it cares about patterns. If the pattern used to be instability, your body expects instability. And until it experiences enough proof that things are different, it won't relax. This is where people get stuck. They try to fix the feeling by chasing bigger numbers. They think, if I just reach this amount, I'll finally breathe. But if your baseline is fear, you'll just move the goalpost. The amount will grow, the tension stays, because the real shift isn't external, it's internal repetition. Handling problems without panic, waiting without urgency, saying no without fear. Those moments retrain your system. That's when safety starts to become real. Not dramatic, not flashy, but steady. And steady is what your brain has been looking for all along. Here's something almost nobody talks about. When you grow up with financial pressure, you don't just develop caution, you develop urgency. And urgency becomes your default speed. You rush decisions, you rush goals, you rush progress. Because somewhere inside you, there's a quiet belief: if I don't move fast enough, something bad will happen. That belief doesn't disappear just because your bank balance improves. It lingers. It shows up in subtle ways. You feel behind even when you're on track. You feel late even when you're early. You feel like you're catching up even when no one is chasing you. That's not ambition, that's leftover survival mode. And survival mode is exhausting because when you live like that, rest feels irresponsible. Pausing feels dangerous. Even enjoyment feels like you're neglecting something important. So you fill your time, you optimize everything, you track every detail, and on paper, it looks productive. But internally, it feels tense. This is where many people misinterpret their own drive. They think they're highly motivated, but often they're highly anxious. There's a difference. Motivation is forward energy. Anxiety is defensive energy. One builds, the other braces. If you're always bracing, even success feels fragile. You don't celebrate wins. You calculate the next risk. You don't enjoy progress. You prepare for collapse. And over time, that mindset becomes your identity. I'm just someone who has to work harder. I can't afford to slow down. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If you never allow yourself to feel safe, you will never feel ahead. No number fixes that. Only exposure to calm does. Calm that lasts, calm that repeats, calm that doesn't disappear the first time something small goes wrong. That's when urgency starts to soften. That's when progress stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like direction. And direction is sustainable. Here's the shift most people never consciously make. They think feeling ahead is about achieving more. More money, more status, more visible progress. But feeling ahead isn't about distance, it's about internal safety. You don't feel ahead when you're richer than everyone else. You feel ahead when you stop measuring, when you stop scanning other lives for comparison, when your nervous system no longer reacts every time someone posts a milestone. That's when something subtle changes. You wake up and the background tension isn't there. You go to work and it feels like choice, not obligation. You make a financial decision and it doesn't feel like a moral test. You start operating from preference, not pressure. And that's powerful because once pressure drops, clarity rises. You stop chasing things just because they look impressive. You stop upgrading your life to keep pace with strangers. You start asking better questions. Do I actually want this? Does this improve my life or my image? Am I building something sustainable or something visible? That's the difference. Visibility feeds ego, sustainability feeds peace. Most people are building visibility. Very few are building peace, and peace compounds. It improves your decisions, it improves your patience, it improves your relationships with money. When you no longer feel behind, you stop rushing. When you stop rushing, you stop forcing. When you stop forcing, progress becomes steady, quiet, less dramatic, more durable, and ironically, that's when you start moving further than most people ever will. Not because you're smarter, not because you're more disciplined, but because you're finally building from stability, not from comparison. So if you've been feeling behind lately, pause. You might not be behind at all. You might just be measuring your life against noise. And noise is loud, but it's rarely accurate. The moment you stop racing ghosts is the moment you finally move forward.